I think we're live.
It looks live to me.
Yeah. Oh, let's turn off the sound. I'm just gonna clean my glasses before we get started. If someone in chat can tell us if they can hear us, I would love that. We're gonna be with you in just a second.
Me typing frantically in the corner.
I mean, we'll know very quickly if we're live.
No,
I'm just gonna put our face on.
Keep it live. Hey.
We are live. Live today. Hey, everybody.
Allegedly, it's like we just cracked the technology.
No, but for once, it just worked perfectly. I didn't have to restart the stream, change the no. I mean, seriously, this was. I mean, it went crazy about 20 minutes before we started, right?
But, yeah, it was just like nothing wanted to work, but hey, we reinvented it.
Everything is seamless, which I like, and my glasses are clean, which helps.
That is helpful.
All right, I'm going to take out the preview. Perfect. That way I can just look at the camera. Okay, that music is stressing me out. You know when it's too quiet and too like, you know, Lola can't hear the music. That's why I'm saying it. But anyway, it's like that mantra music type of thing going on here.
I see.
Yeah. No, this is just not right.
Fair
not
enough.
Good music. Yeah, I'll change it. I went for ambient, but that's too ambient even for me.
Yeah, sometimes
hi everybody, welcome.
Into a coma.
Yeah, seriously, it makes you want to sleep. Everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Queer Creators, and today we are doing Let's Keep You Writing, which is, well, I mean, everything's in the title. Last week we talked about how to get you started, and now that, you know, you're started, we are going to talk about, you know, how to keep doing it, how to feel good about it, how to get back into it, and, you know, a little bit how to structure your work and do all of that. So I think the first thing we need, I'm sorry here. I hope this is not painful. Right. Okay. The first thing we're going to talk about today is, and I think congratulations are in order, Lola's new book is out.
Yay.
So, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. It's, it feels both like it's been really sudden and also like it's been about a year in the making. It's not been that long at all, but yeah, I'm very glad that it's out there and it's unleashed on the world when we all need something to read at the moment, and more things to do. So it's got some timing. I'll give it that.
I kind of want to know what it's about because I didn't get any preview, guys. I don't know anything more than you do.
No, I haven't sent out
I kind of want to know about it now.
I haven't sent out any sneaky authors previews either. That was all done by my publisher this time. So yeah, it's a kind of rich girl, poor girl-ish kind of thing. A bit of class war and enemies to friends to lovers sort of deal.
Oh, that's the best. That's my favorite.
Tropes. I love small town stuff, not in real life, but in fiction. I love small towns and their quirky characters. So we've got plenty of those.
And it's in Scotland.
It is. I finally got to write a book about home or set at home.
That's good.
So it's not very far from me in a fictional place, probably about 40-50 miles from Edinburgh, where I am now. So it was really fun to do. I wrote most of it while I was in Sweden last year. So to get to write Scotland, it turns out you have to go to Sweden. But it just, yeah, the timing worked out really nicely. And I'm very excited to see that people are already diving on their copy and having thoughts about it. So that's pretty cool.
Do you get some comments already? Like some reviews? How do you get about those? Do you get excited? Do you like them?
I love it. Okay. There's always a little part of me. It's the same even with like fanfic comments. There's just a moment between like when you get the notification that someone said something, and when you actually read it, where your brain goes, "What if this person hates it? What if this is about to be like a
Oh,
flame war thing?" And just a little voice in the back of your head always worries with every comment that this time it's going to be bad. But I'm really
that's
lucky
book
for
number
the
5,
most
right?
part. Yeah, book number 4.
Ha,
Yeah, so
4. It's not going to be bad.
well,
Come
you
on,
never
it's not going
know.
to be bad.
I'm lucky in that there are a couple of less than positive reviews out there, but I've never seen them like in real time. I've never been notified about them. I don't seek them out. So generally, if anyone says anything directly to you, like on Twitter or Facebook, it's been really
Right.
complimentary. So I'm really pleased
Do you
about that.
really have people that like come to you and just say this book is so bad? And did you really have bad reviews? Like, do people?
I'm
Because I know on fan fiction they do. I've had horrible reviews, like people so
yeah.
like nasty, but in real life, like on Amazon and whatever, do you actually get people who say, "Oh, I
I
don't
think
like this book"?
the probably the most prevalent place for it is probably Goodreads, but that's fine because Goodreads is for readers and it's not for authors. So although it's a handy place to go and like arrange your stuff and you can put information up there so people know what you're doing and when the next book is coming and if you're doing an event, it's for readers to talk
Right,
to other readers and they should have that like space to say, you know what, it wasn't perfect. I like this, but I didn't like that, and I wish it had
right.
done this. That's fine. I don't. I try not to go and look for that because I get very disheartened very quickly.
Do you
So
do you? Oh,
yeah, but fanfic was a wee bit more. I think that was wasn't so much that people were negative; it's that people had very specific expectations that you had
right.
no way of knowing. And then so they would say, "But you should have written this," and you're like, "But I didn't." And they'd be like, "But I want a story where this happens," and I'm like, "Well,
Right. I
write
love that.
one."
I love that thing where it's all about you should have done this or you should have done that. I wanted this.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's
So especially for something you're
yeah.
doing, for free and that people are consuming for free, it's a bit like, well, how picky do you have get to be? But
Yeah.
I've also learned things from reviews, both good and bad, where I've been like, oh, I do that. Oh no. And I'll remember not to do it the next time, hopefully.
Right.
So little habits you don't realize you have, or things that you've maybe done more than once and people have noticed. So it's good to be aware of like the general feeling, but I don't like to beat I worked with a lot of actors for years, and most of them
Yeah.
don't seek out the reviews
You've
either.
been in
So
theater, haven't you?
yeah, that was my first love,
Right.
the theatre, the West End.
So
So
that's how you've worked with a lot of actors is what you mean.
yeah, so I spent
Okay.
a few years working, and even we would have the press nights and we would have the parties, and the reviews would start coming in, and you get a few people who'd be like, "Give me the reviews," but most people would be like, "Nope, not looking." I'm sure they went
Yeah.
home and read some of them, but
I won't
yeah.
lie. I read the comments. I keep them. Um
Mm,
I appreciate them.
yeah,
Um but I know that I mean they're not for me, are they? I mean, it's
yeah.
about the
I mean,
story. I mean, once you've put it out there, it has a life of its own,
mm,
I think. And then
exactly.
I try at least like not to make it a motivation for writing, and I think that's something we need to talk about at some point. Is not to make
Probably.
it yeah, right? That's an important part. That in
Mm,
publishing, I think needs to be its own little thing. But yeah, I think I try to make it not a motivation for sure. I write for me and a few people that I really really like. Um, like I have a little base of people that if they don't like it, that hurts.
yeah,
That
disappointed.
hurts.
Yeah.
Right, that hurts.
Mm,
But after that, I try to just launch it into its own life of
yeah.
things. And but do you answer comments? That's
I try to. I used to be really good at it,
okay.
especially on AO3, and I would reply to every
Right.
comment.
Right.
But
So what's
I
your
just
position on that? Oh, you know what? I am curious to ask you that, but that again needs to be another conversation. So keep my question for another time because I'm curious about that, and I have my own little theory about it too. But I think we should get back into. I'm trying to repost this thing on Twitter to let people know that we're here. And then we're gonna get right in the middle of it. But I'm really happy. So the link to your book I've put in the description. It's only Ilva right now, right?
Yeah, it's basically, I think this is common with a lot of the smaller presses. For the first 2 weeks, it goes direct from Ilva for their sales. So it's kind of like a pre-sale in a way, like before general release.
Right.
And it's ebook only from them, and it means you get it instantly, get to read it right away, which is nice. And then in about 2 weeks' time, probably 2 weeks from yesterday, it'll start popping up on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the various indie places that sell both paperback and ebooks, and it will be an audiobook at some point as well, I believe. So
I hope they get Scottish accent.
I hope so too, yeah, because we're going to have, well, Susanna's probably a bit English.
I've been practicing mine.
The Scottish accent, I think, is one of the harder ones to imitate.
Oh, it's hard. It's really hard. I've been practicing mine. I really hope that...
If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, I changed my accent a lot unconsciously, which doesn't help, but...
some of us have mimicking. Some of us have the mimicking thing, which I have, which has always helped me with languages, but at the same time, it makes it hard because sometimes, if I spend too much time with my friends, my Scottish friends on the phone, I end up picking up their expression and it comes back in my overall accent, which is interesting. But yeah,
it does get you one way or another. So
it does, doesn't it?
But it's funny though. I know a lot of people who are very good at accents, but they do struggle with Scottish in a way they don't with like Australian or Irish or whatever. So I'm always like, we're special. We're the chosen.
Oh my god, I have those allergies. It's just,
I know,
it's eating me hard this year.
Better the allergies than a virus, anyway. So
absolutely, I count my blessings.
Yeah, you have to this year. I think we're all doing that. So
we are.
That's good.
Okay, so we are back to talk about keeping writing, which is a little bit different from what we did last week, where we set you up to start writing your story or your book or, anything that you felt like doing. So today we want to talk a little bit about the different genres of writing. We want to talk about, the different genre for your novel, but also the different type of creative writing that you can have. And we are going to talk to you about structure, and we're going to do that in a way that is a little bit more around the chapter, right? It's going to be around the chapter of your story, of your fiction, of your...
and thank
you, Mary Beth.
Hey.
We have a viewer. Thank you for your support. I know Mary Beth is actually not doing great, and she's at home a little sick. So,
feel better. I hope.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, we're going to talk about structure of your story and more specifically of your chapter or your scene, whichever. But the little tips and the tricks and the things that you need to keep in mind to help you, and obviously the process of continuing to write something that you've already started, because there's a whole mindset and technique with that.
And eventually, the biggest thing that's going to trip you up is that momentum will get you so far, and then at some point everyone runs out of momentum. Nobody writes a book in one sitting. I don't think anyone does.
No,
that's a good one.
I mean, the last time I wrote, more than 5,000 words in one setting, I was manic. So, it's a lot.
It's easily done. So.
We are going to we're going to start with what type of writing you can do. So when I mean what type is that there's a lot of different creative writing. You can write fiction, you can write books, novels, short stories. You can write, you can be a nonfiction writer. You can be, you can write scripts for TV and for movie. Those are very different, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's one thing I do hear or sort of see a lot of people in passing going, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do that one of these days." And I think I'm a little precious about it at the moment because I'm doing my master's in writing for TV, and the
Right.
amount that I've learned this year about like incredibly specific stuff. And not it's not just a case of like the technical skills that you pick up because anyone can look those up and learn them gradually for themselves. But it's about respecting your medium and respecting the industry that's grown up around about it because publishing and television don't work the same, and they're not the same as like the movie business. So even though talent is talent and creativity is kind of creativity across the board, you've got to take that and sort of learn the parameters around it and like how it gets applied and how they like to see things done, and basically how to look professional within that group if you want to take it seriously. So you don't have to, you
Yes.
can do it for fun, obviously.
Obviously.
Um, but yeah, there's just an element of, I think sometimes people are very glib. My favorite one is always when people are like, oh yeah, I'm just going to write a play. And I'm like, oh, are you really into theater? And they're like, oh no, like I've been like twice in my life. And I'm like, okay, I've been to the theatre about 1,000 times and I still don't know if I'm qualified to write a play. But you do you. That is,
Some people are
different levels
confident,
of
aren't
confidence.
they?
Yeah, but you will find a lot of the time that great ideas will always look great, but if they don't fit into the medium that
Right.
you're writing because you haven't done the work on making it look like it belongs there, then
I've
sometimes
just
that's a tricky thing.
propped up Lola's book page on
Hey,
Ilva's website so that you guys can see the description of the story if you want to just, look it up while we're talking away. Um, right. So obviously, like Lola said, you can be a script TV writer, you can be a movie script writer, you could be a comics writer. You can write comics book, which
yeah,
I've been learning to start writing comic books because I've been doing Gail Simone's comic school, and I've actually started doing it here. She did a 5-day free course for people who wanted to start writing comics, and she did it all free, which is amazing. And I've been doing live streaming each day of each class.
oh, cool.
Um, and I've been doing it here on the YouTube on this channel. So if you guys are interested, you can watch that. And I will be doing day 3 tomorrow night. So it's a big thing. It's also a complete different technique. It looks like a script writing um, for comic books, but it's completely
Yeah.
different. And obviously, you can also be writing articles and pieces that you want to pitch in magazines and newspapers, which Lola
Yeah.
you also have experience with, and you've been pushing me
Yeah,
to
I've done
do.
some creative nonfiction, I think is what it's CNF, creative nonfiction is the
Right.
buzzy term around it now. So yeah, a lot of that's
Oh,
based on like personal experience, but writing it almost as a short story. Hello, kitty cat.
yes. Yep. We
Um,
have a
and
whiner.
that's been kind of fun. Um, and again, a lot of the things are similar. Like the research is roughly the same, and sort of how you structure things in terms of like making an interesting story.
Right.
But it's just obviously when you're doing something that's based on factual things, if you're involving other people in any way, then you have to be very careful about getting those facts completely correct
Right.
in a way that in fiction you can kind of hand wave and say, well, I've
Oh,
decided in my world that is possible. So
here she is. You haven't seen her before, or have you? Did I show
not
her
for a
to
while, I
you?
don't think. Hey, gorgeous.
That's
Oh,
Osiris.
hey, Osiris.
We call her the
You're.
kitten.
She's so happy.
Oh, she's like, yes, pay attention to me. Pet me,
Yeah,
I'm famous.
That's all she wants in this world, to be the
Oh
cute fellow on
yeah,
the stream.
and she just wants to be on the stream. Like she has not come 1 minute in my room today. She has not asked me anything. She's been outside playing. Yes, Envy, it's your kitten. And Envy's a friend of mine. We spend time together. Oh, I'm glad she's made your day.
She's so lovely.
Yeah, she's a little precious princess, is what she is.
I
But
don't know
she
if
always
some
wants
of
to
my
be on
might
the
crash,
stream.
but
Exactly. She's like, she wants to be on the stream. She's like, I'm here. I can help.
yeah, Colin's already crashed my scripting class this morning, so he maybe has had all his attention for one day.
Right.
We shall see if we get any visitors tonight. But
So, everyone, what I wanted to say is pretty clear. You have different type of writing. Don't go think that because you can write one way, you can write everything, because you know it's all a little different. It has techniques and specificities and things that you want to do in one way that you'd never want to do in another type of writing. So, if you're interested in us, going after something else than fan fiction, because we both write not just fan fiction or less fic or fiction, we will definitely take that under consideration if you guys want to hear about how to start writing comics or TV or just articles. We'll definitely be able to give you some information. So
I'll get some guests on to talk about it too.
Right. So what we're talking about right now is fiction, novels, shorts, also, because you can write short fictions. It's it's another genre, but it's pretty much a sister genre to
It is, although I would say probably some of the best short story writers I know couldn't write a novel, and vice versa.
Really?
But, yeah.
I guess you hone
like
the craft,
a perfect
right?
short story. A perfect short story is not. I mean, it uses a lot of the same tools and ingredients.
Sure, but it won't
requires
make a great novel.
I'd love to write short stories all the time.
Yeah. If I can write if you think you can write a short and just like lengthen it to make a novel, that's not going to work.
Rarely.
I mean, the story really has to be perfect.
Yeah, it has to be a very rich story that's just asking for more
that you can just layer a little bit more.
Although, yeah, some short stories have made good films and TV shows, so
absolutely
there is scope to do it. It's possible.
There's always scope to branch out and to transform. Obviously, fan fiction is a transformative work. There's tons and tons of way to transform from one I'd say style to another. But so we're gonna obviously focus on fiction and genre. So in fiction and fan fiction, and when you're writing those stories or starting your stories, it's nice to have an idea of what genre you're in, because some genres have some specificities. You're not going to write fantasy the same way you're going to write sci-fi, and you're not going to write a crime novel or a mystery novel the same way. Although all those things, I'm attacked by cat hair now. I have cat hair everywhere. Although obviously all those genres can mix and match and go together, and you can have romance in the middle of sci-fi, and you can have a sci-fi dystopian novel with a thriller going on and a crime story in the middle of that world. It's completely possible.
Absolutely.
But it helps you know where you're at.
I think it's important to know as well, especially if you want to publish, to have some idea, not that you should write to the audience expectations, but you should at least be aware of what they are. So if you're not going to kind of stick to the guidelines of that genre, then you have to kind of know which ones you're breaking, so that people know.
Yes.
Sort of be treated with respect. Like, you get a lot of complaints because I write in romance, and lesfic in particular has a real insistence on happy ever after, happy endings.
Yes.
And that can be difficult because there are times where the more interesting story dramatically would be to have something sad or difficult happen.
Yeah.
And you can do that up to a point, but obviously by the end, it kind of has to, the rules of romance really are we're here
Right.
for the two people to fall in love and be together.
And
We don't
also
really
the
want people to be
idea
broken up and miserable.
and also the idea that's specific to lesfic, and I think it's the same for men. Men love men, or gender non-binaries, or
Mm.
marginalized romance.
Yeah,
I
queer
think is
characters in
very
general are.
important. Is very important to keep in mind that we are discriminated and we are hurt audiences. So
Yeah, we come with our own
when
baggage,
it
partly
comes,
because of how
yes,
media has treated
it
us.
comes
Yeah.
with a lot of emotional pain that is associated with media, that a lot of people, readers, that all the people, even regular people, are just used to, and everybody laughs about it. But when there's a lesbian in a TV show, everybody in on Twitter or in gay Twitter just turns around and say, "So how are they gonna kill her?"
Yeah,
Or
so
"How are they
it's
gonna hurt
lightening
their
up a little
girlfriend?"
now. I
Yeah,
mean, Claxton was really the kind of lightning rod point, although it had been happening for a long time before that. But um, yeah, it's now that other shows are kind of getting a clue since that,
yes,
it's been a little bit better. But it has kind of swung back the other way now, where a lot of shows and creators, I think, feel like if they do that, they're only going to get backlash. And I think there has to be a
they're
point.
starting to get that point. But I don't think they're at the
Yeah.
point where they understand why they're getting the
Oh
backlash. They
God,
just
no, no,
understand
very few
that,
of them do.
oh, if we kill the lesbians, we get backlash. Let's not kill the lesbians. So
Not for now, anyway.
obviously, Rachel George says the walls of Western Fort comes to mind for breaking that happy endings
Ah,
is a must somewhat. I've not read it. Have you?
I don't think I have. I recognise the name though.
I
I'm just gonna
honestly I
look it up
don't.
quick.
Okay, if you want, that would be awesome. Um, so Rachel and everybody else, I agree with you.
Ah,
So what we're trying to say here is that marginalized romance has been pretty beat up over the
yeah,
years, and so there is the thought that if you're gonna write it, you can make it angsty. That's okay. You can
hmm,
make it a difficult relationship. You can make it a difficult story, or a push and pull, and you can make it all you want. But at the very end of your book or your story, something positive for those two women needs to happen,
yeah.
and that's um
I think
that's
yeah,
been
my
something
personal
we all try to encourage, because we need it. There's not enough of it, and
yeah.
people need to see themselves happy in a story that is about them and for them. And
The only good
and
thing I think is the more stories we have, if we start finally getting the numbers of stories
yes,
and main characters and everything that we have, then we at that point we can go back to, well, okay, some of them will die, some of them will get married, some of them will
yes,
do this, because we'll have
exactly,
enough representation to be able to afford to lose some
exactly.
of it.
But right now we
So
don't.
that's what I hope we get to anyway.
Yes,
As a
it's definitely
storyteller,
the
it
hope.
frustrates me. It does frustrate me that I know if I want to stay within my own genres, both of fic and of novels at the moment, that option is kind of closed off to me. But that's fine. I don't have a desperate need to kill off all my characters.
No.
But there are times when it feels like it would be the correct choice for the story. So
And don't
um,
worry, you still get to kill your darlings in
yeah,
lesfic, or men love men fic, or you know
yeah, there's still some scope, but
in slash and
um,
fm slash, you still get to kill people if you need to. But
well, you can. Although I have noticed, certainly in the past few years, there is much less appetite in fandom, particularly in fem/fandom, for angsty stories in general. People are using fic. It feels like more as a comfort mechanism than
yes,
necessarily like a
yes.
storytelling thing. So
I mean, if it's easy to find something to consume, whether it's visually or like reading
hmm,
or watching a TV show. It's not too hard to find where characters suffer and they go through horrible things. And I mean, there's always the reality that audiences, and especially cishet audiences, they like to watch people suffering. It's drama is something that attracts people and it keeps people in. However,
Yeah,
with
it's also a feeling if you're not living that life, I think, as well. If you're watching from
yes,
quite a position of privilege or
if it's
everything,
just
then
exactly if you're just white and
yeah.
married with 2 kids and middle class and you're fine.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
fun to watch people suffer for your
yeah, it's so
entertainment.
angsty.
But if you're not, well,
Sometimes you just want to go
it
to a
gets
place where
old.
everything is
Yeah.
safe and soft, and you get to win in that reality.
Yes, you
So
get to win. And it gets because everything else just gets very old and painful very quickly. And it,
and
you
yeah,
know, and
Rachel is pointing out quite correctly that in fact I do have a slight habit of killing people off, but yeah.
well,
I normally I kill off the minor characters to upset the major characters, so
I do that too.
I'm a little bit better.
I kill characters quite often. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm a Swan
sorry, I
Queen
killed your beloved
writer
family
mostly.
member.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a Swan Queen writer, and I think I've killed at least 1 or 2 characters in,
yeah.
each
I've
of my
had to go,
stories right now.
especially in short fic clips and stuff that I'm just doing for fun, where there's no consequences really. I tend to kill people off all the time, so it's all
Well, I mean,
good.
yeah, especially in fantasy, it's kind of like
Yeah,
necessary.
if it's
But
the law of the universe in that world that everybody dies, then you can't really,
right.
can't always
So
avoid it.
we're gonna answer. So killing people in lesfic is okay as long as at the end you're not hurting your characters more than you're giving them
Yeah,
a positive
they can suffer a
result.
bit along the way, but they have to get the payoff.
Yes.
So yeah.
The second thing that we need to precise in terms of romance writing
Mhm.
for you know for lesfic is smut or sex. Is it okay to write sex in your books, your stories, your chapters?
Oh yeah,
And
well I have.
yes.
I have.
So the short answer is yes. I don't read cishet romance. I'll be honest with you, and very
Yeah, no.
often you don't see the deed, or you don't. You
Yeah,
don't. I
there's a lot
mean,
of fade to black or whatever. So
right.
yeah.
Or you don't read the details of the they go to bed, they have sex or whatever, not bed, not necessarily, but and they have sex, but it's not necessarily written. Personally, as a lesbic writer, I like, as a femme/ writer, I like to be, I don't mind, and I kind of like to be writing sexually graphic scenes because
Mm.
I'll do my part for the education of the baby gays.
Mm.
That's number
Yeah,
one.
everyone learned from some book that they borrowed from someone they weren't supposed to. So
Exactly.
yeah, the
So
time-honored
I feel
tradition.
like I've, especially as a lesbian, of many years, I feel like we got to do our civic duty here. So
Yes, it's part of the history cycle that has to repeat. So
exactly. And
that's fair
also,
enough.
if you want to read fanfic with nicely written smut,
Yes.
um, oh well, hi Sasuke, good to see you back. I mean, sex scenes, it's important. So, it's really important actually, because I mean, honestly, if your sex scene is shite, your book will be shite.
Yeah, it's got to not derail the whole thing by suddenly getting
Exactly.
weird and awkward, because it is
Exactly.
tempting sometimes. You get to that scene and your brain goes, not today. And it's just,
Yes,
there's a
that
lot of times
happens.
I've written the whole book and I've had to go back
Yeah, and
and
you
put
have
the sex scene
in
in.
between bracket, they have sex, and
Yes,
you're like,
literally. It's like
oh
a
no.
placeholder. Something will happen here.
Yeah,
And that's,
exactly.
it's better to be in the right mindset for it. I find I
Yes.
write it better with a deadline. So that's always good. It's like you can't just wander off and be like, so maybe they made out. I don't know. I can't be bothered deciding. That's fine
Yeah.
for week one, but week two the book is due, and it's like,
Uh-oh.
okay, right. So details. This happens, and then
Uh-huh.
take it from there. And suddenly,
Right.
nobody's wearing any clothes, and stuff is happening, and it's all great. But
And
it
if
is
you have the
incredibly
right
hard to
song
do.
on, it can go on and
Oh
really
no, it's the
go
one thing
well.
I cannot write with music. It really throws me off.
Really?
So
Sex
yeah,
or everything?
sex in particular, can't write it with anything that has a rhythm, has a beat. It
Wow,
throws me off.
really?
Yeah, it's really.
That's
I normally have
so
instrumental music to
amazing.
write to, but I can't anything that has a noticeable time signature. I can't do it. Can't. It must be in the music part of my brain that I write that from, and I'm just like,
Okay.
no, it can't happen.
That's
So
amazing.
I always write sex in silence, which sounds a bit
Right.
weird
Okay.
because
Well,
it's
for
very
me,
much not a silent thing.
if it has
Not
music,
to
it's
begin
better.
with.
But I get to the point where I don't listen to the music anymore. I'm just like
Yeah,
so
that's
inside of it. But do you get into it? Yes. Do you get turned on by your own sex? Possibly. I mean, like that happens.
it depends how bad a writing day I'm having, but
Exactly.
I think like with time and distance, and normally when I go back to edit the process, I'll be like, "Hey, that came out pretty well,"
That was kind of
and
hot.
I'll appreciate
And
it with a little bit of
smexy.
time and
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes you read
and
over it
yeah,
and you're like, yeah, I did all right. That was
yeah,
nice.
it's a little bit easier as well to do. I've written a couple of like, I guess they'd be called erotic short stories would be their official
Yes.
title,
You've brought
and
erotica.
yeah, and those were kind of that was very much drawing on a
You've
thick
brought
skill
written.
set and
Written.
then
Thank you.
putting it into a one shot, like a short
Right.
story. And
It's on
that was
Lola's
much easier to
Ilva's
do.
page. If you guys are looking for that, it's also on
Oh
Ilva's
yeah, yeah.
page for
I'm
Lola.
forgetting about Laid Bear. I've got a couple. I've got one coming out
And
at the
you
end of
are
the
in
month
that.
as well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
called After Happily Ever After, and that's a great idea for an anthology because it's basically a bunch of us who've written books with pairings
Sex
that
in
have been
it.
quite popular,
Yeah.
and we've all gone back like maybe a year, maybe 5 years later to see how that couple is doing. So it's really fun because there's a lot of books that I read in the past year or two, and I've just got really into the story. And now my treat is going to be that we're going to get to go back to like characters from like Lee Winter and Jay and all these
Yeah.
authors who have like a really big following for their books. And so I
Well,
get to go back to my first book and be like, "Hey guys, how are you doing?"
yeah.
And that
So
was a lot of fun. So
I know that I've written for Swan Queen again, I've written a one shot, a 10K words one shot that's
oh
been
yeah,
voted the most hot one shot of Swan Queen for years. And every year
nice.
it's just, and it's because it didn't start like that. My idea was not at all to write something very sexy, but it was something very intense. And for me,
That helps.
that often starts like that. It was very visual and very intense, and it turned into sex at the end. And you know, it's it happens. What I mean
Yeah.
by that, what I'm trying to say is it's okay to write graphic depiction of sex.
Oh yeah.
Do it well. It's actually
Commit to it. Yeah. If you're
yes,
scared of it, it'll come across in the writing. So if you're going to do it,
yes,
if this and the story will tell you if you need fade to black or if you need every detail.
right.
So you'll know in your gut level, you will know. And
There's a good
just
there's a good
dive
instinct to
in.
have. Yeah, it's a good instinct to have. If you think that if pretty much it doesn't do anything for your story, then it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. Don't write something that people
However,
want to skip over.
exactly. However, if you see something that's really like for you a really positive way to express your character's emotions and involvement with each other, and it kind of naturally goes there, and you get uncomfortable, it's okay to pause, come back, or like Lola said, just get into it, focus, put your head down, and just just roll with it and let it feel and come out the way it is. It's I like to do it for I have several reasons for it. In regular fiction, sometimes I would not shy from it, but like I wouldn't let it go as much as I do in fan fiction. But I feel
Mhm.
like, so aside from educating young gays, we have also, it goes with the same idea of giving positive impact to your romance.
Yeah,
Every time you
there's an
turn around
element
in
of like,
media, there's sex,
yeah,
and everywhere in regular media there's sex. It's cis-het sex. You never see gay sex. So I like to show
yeah,
gay sex. I think representation matters, and the
yeah,
representation of the sexual act between two women or two men, or again everybody else on in between. It's really really important.
yeah. And I do think again, I feel like for a while there we got stuck in this kind of it never happens kind of rut.
Yeah.
Obviously, it has improved in the past few years,
Yes.
but
You see people
a
kissing a
tiny
little bit.
percentage compared to.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you've got a lot of films in the past maybe 5 years, I would say,
Yeah.
compared to the 5 years before, where there's actual explicit scenes between
That's true.
women or whatever. You've got Carol, you've got Portrait of a Duda,
Yes. A lady of
all these
fire.
films. And obviously some are better than others, and some are directed by men, and some are not, and it's all kind of
That's one of the things that really
got a
creeps me
lot
out. Just
to.
like
Yeah.
we've all seen, I think, or heard about that movie, The Girl with the Blue Hair. It comes
Oh,
from
Blue.
a French comic book, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely outrageous. The It's made by a man. He
Yeah,
like
it wasn't
almost sexually
disclosed as
harassed
much.
his cast. It was, I
Mm.
mean, yeah, blue the warmest color. There we go.
We can certainly do better than that. So
Yes.
yeah,
So that representation is bad representation. But
yeah, it
let's
doesn't
be
really count.
clear. Unless LGBTQIA plus writers, yeah, yikes, Sasuke, I absolutely
Yeah,
agree with you. It's a yikes movie.
it
Unless
is.
we create representation in media of every form for ourselves, nobody's going to do it first for us, right? We have to set the
Yeah,
example. We have to, you know, we have to show them how it's done. And outside of that, I like, it's again for a comfort thing. I like to give that to people.
yeah. And at the end of the day, there is obviously an audience for it. Whether it's not
Yes,
100% of the people who read like lesbian romance, for example, want to read erotica,
smart,
but
sure,
that's fine. It just means that you're covering for everyone who does want it. It'll be there, and
indeed.
for people who don't necessarily want it or need it themselves, they will know, to recommend it for other people who might come along looking for it. So it's just, yeah, it's
Yeah,
about a kind of reclaiming that ground and being like, I know we're not ashamed of this. It's
yeah.
not
Reclaiming
something,
bodies, reclaiming
yeah, it's not something that should
sexuality.
be hidden away just
Yeah,
because it's
it's
queer.
not taboo,
Um,
and it's not
yeah,
even, and even within the queer community, it's okay.
hmm,
It's
exactly. And it's important to just be as representative as possible and have different bodies, and to not be ableist and racist and all
yeah,
those other things that come with it. Like if we're breaking down one barrier and one taboo, then
exactly,
there's no excuse for enforcing other ones. So
absolutely.
that's something I'm obviously consciously trying to work on without, I don't want to speak over people from those groups that I'm not part of, but
Well, I
they're
mean,
part of my friendships, and they're part of my world, and they're part of
yes,
my
exactly,
my
and the
worldview and my
characters.
politics. So yeah,
And the
they're going to show up
characters.
in
I
my book.
mean,
Yeah.
my favorite thing about Swan Queen, one of my my favorite character is Regina Mills, and one of my favorite thing about her is that, you know, she's for me, you know, a woman of color. She's Latina. She's, all those things that were butchered about her in the
Yeah, that the
actual
show didn't really know
show.
how to handle.
I
Yeah.
really want to take care of her that way. Like it for me,
But
it's
yeah,
really important.
the fandom did so much better. Like I know Demons Fix dealt so much with Regina's identity and immigration law in the US
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And it just took it onto this whole new level, and you were like, that's what stories are for. That's like,
Yes.
you've cast someone, you've been better on that front. So when you
Yeah.
cast someone who has that identity, why wouldn't you take it and like develop it and run with it. You know?
Enrich your material. Like it's an enrichment. And you know, difference is an enrichment. It's the whole point is to like tap into that richness and you know.
Yeah. Just there's room at the table to tell all of these stories. We don't need to tell the same 10 stories about the same 10 people all the time. We don't really need another superhero movie about a straight white guy who is a bit rubbish, but then he gets superpowers and suddenly he's great.
Yeah, we have tons of those already. Thank you.
We know how that happens. But then if you take something like Spider-Man and you make it about a young Latino guy, then that story has a relevance that it didn't have before.
And then you realize that everybody can be Spider-Man. A freaking ham can be Spider-Man. I mean, and that's something I love so much about the Spider-Verse, is that, everybody can be Spider-Man.
Well, and if you look at...
and if you look at other, you know, huge stories like the Harry Potter series, you know, there's so much potential there, and it's just so white.
Yeah, but the fandom does so much better on that front.
Yeah,
which is something at least.
Fandom is amazing about that, but it's important, even as a marginalized writer, for you to put your privilege in check. And once you've done that,
Orlando agrees. Obviously, he would like to keep everybody's privilege in check.
Exactly. Orlando's doing that.
He has a pro-Tabby agenda, so like, be careful that he's biased.
Right.
So, yeah,
a little bit. But yes,
you can't make all stories about tabby cats. I'm sorry.
Put all your put yourself in check always, and do your research.
Yeah,
and if you're not, you know, if you're
people, you know,
if you're not versed, exactly, if you're not versed in social justice, or you haven't been on social media very much, and you're you know, it's okay. Just read books.
And that's the thing, you know, talk to people. We've got this great internet full of people of every conceivable background. I'm not asking, you know, people to do that emotional labor of like educating groups outside of their own, but like the resources are there, the information is there. You just have to be interested in people and treat them like human beings and be like, wow, I didn't know that was part of what you have to deal with in your daily life.
Learn. And you're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah,
it's okay. You're gonna learn. You're gonna be told at some point. Yeah, you're gonna be told at some point, that's fucked up. You fucked up. That's not good. You're gonna have someone like rain down on you and say, dude, that's dehumanizing. And you're gonna be like, oh my God. And you're gonna feel terrible about yourself. And the right thing to do is to sit down, shut up, listen, pay attention to what's told. Don't defend yourself. Don't go, oh, you know, I didn't mean that, or, oh, you know, it's you know, not all of that. That's not what that means, or not all men, or not all women, or not all white women. Just, you know, just take the criticism. Start from the point that if somebody from a marginalized group comes to you and tells you about their experience that you can't possibly know about because you can't live it, you're not like them, then just shut up and listen. Say, you know, apologize if you've done something wrong and fix it. Don't do it again.
People are worried about defending themselves first and foremost.
Exactly. And if something happens in fic that you've already written, which that happens.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Rachel, it's sensitivity reading. But not everybody can pay for it, and not everybody will go for that. Like for fan fiction, I mean, nobody goes to pay for editing or for sensitivity reading on fan fiction.
No, I think with fanfic or fandom generally, there's a kind of culture of exchange. So, like for example, if someone does you a favor and reads your fic so you can post it, then you would normally offer to do something in exchange. If they write, you know, do the same, or if they're an artist, offer to like let them run their comics panels past you, or you know, whatever skill exchange is there, or you know. If they have a prompt that they want written, you know,
you can write something for them.
Yeah, there's always something you can do on that sort of amateur to amateur level.
You
But
can
yeah,
amplify
the
them
minute
if
you make
they're
money from it,
right. You need to pay a
then
sensitivity
you pay everyone
reader,
in the chain.
editor,
Yeah,
actually.
because I think that was one of the big publishers fucked up on that not long ago. They were getting sensitivity readers in, and they were saying like basically the perk will be you get to read these books for free before they come out, and it was like, and
pay them, pay these people.
Developmental editors, are they getting paid? And they were like, yeah. And your copy editor,
well, that's exactly it.
Then so is your sensitivity reader. That's part of the process.
A sensitivity reader is almost, I'd say almost, and if they start doing a little bit of line editing for you, you have the whole thing. Like for me, a sensitivity reader is a developmental editor. And if you're, but what I'm trying to say here mostly is that if you're only writing fan fiction and you're not trying to write something else, don't do it less. Pay attention, get sensitivity reading of your stuff.
There's great blogs on Tumblr and stuff that specifically do questions for like if you're writing with color, or you're writing about an ethnicity or a sexuality that you don't personally share.
Yes, then, if you're writing about mental health, if you have a character with mental health issues, if you have characters that are non-binary or asexual or aromantic or
it's like
or transgender, by all.
Not meaning to go back and pimp my own books, but for example, in Slammed, my main character's sister Alice is a trans woman, and in my current book, A Roll in the Hay, Finn, who works for Susanna and is one of the main characters, they are non-binary, and they definitely use they pronouns throughout the book, and it's like it's not ambiguous in any way. It's not up for debate. And of course, I ran both of those before I even sent them to my publisher. I ran them past friends who, in a sort of culture of exchange. We were like, in a writing group together. So we were doing stuff for each other. Like we were doing a beta read, or we were doing this kind of thing. And like both of those, I just, I broadly knew, because it's exactly the same way as I would treat my friends who were part of those groups.
Right.
But you just want to be careful that something's on the page. It's not ambiguous, or it's not. It couldn't be taken in a wrong way. And
or if you're gonna,
said, no problem.
If you're gonna go write something that you have no idea about, and you press publish and you still have no idea about it, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, if you're just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, then you're gonna hurt someone,
and you're gonna get backlash. It's not just you're gonna hurt someone, because that's horrible, and that's the worst
part of it. Yeah,
and but very often you can crush people and they won't tell you, and you don't know.
That's my biggest worry. It's always like, oh God, have
horrible.
Have I done that wrong?
Exactly. But you're lucky. So if you get the backlash, you're lucky, because at least you get someone telling you. But for one person, for one person who's going to bring your awareness to something, like how many others have you hurt that you don't know? Just because you didn't take the time to be respectful of an experience that you don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's worth.
So that's not to say don't write about things that you don't know, because.
And when people say it's too much effort and they haven't got time, like you've got time to go and check what year something happened to that you're referring to, or
music,
I know for fanfic I've gone and checked, like did like LA have a baseball team at that point? No, they didn't. Okay, right. So crap, we can't write that. So if you can take the time to check those details, you can absolutely take the time to view any other check that needs done.
And reread your book to make sure you're using correct pronouns and all of those things.
Because that's the thing, people will autocorrect in a way they don't always mean to. So.
That's continuity. And it's the main thing that we wanted to talk to you about today is continuity. So now that we've talked a little bit about structure, about genres, because we started on genres, and we're gonna start talking to you about structure, and with structure comes continuity. So let's do structure in your stories. In your stories, you're gonna be able to see things that are, I'd say, big pillars of a story. So for example, in fan fiction, you're going to have to be aware of canon, of what is AU, which means alternate universe, what characterization that you are taking away from what's canon, which means what's in the show or what's in the book that you've read that inspires you, or so. And if it's complete creation, then you kind of need to create your what we call head canon, which is what you project onto a character that they like chocolate but they're allergic to strawberries.
And some of that won't be like upfront. You won't know that before you start writing, but you'll be writing something and you need them to get to a point where they have a fight with their parents. So you think, crap, what can they fight about? Oh, they fight about the fact that the parents keep putting chocolate in food that they're eating and they're allergic to it. So God damn it.
Exactly. Because that happens with your parents all the time.
Part of their biography. Yeah.
Exactly. You can have that scene. I don't know about you, but every time my mom cooks what is it?
Excuse me.
Lamb. Every time my mom cooks lamb, she misremembers. I hate lamb. My sister loves it. Every time. Every single time she's like, oh, I made lamb. You love it so much. I'm like, nope, for the 100,000th time. Wrong child. You know, out of the 3, I'm the one who doesn't like lamb. And every single, you know, so that's headcanon. So that's what you do during your book. You take notes on another document. You take notes about your characters, about the places they are, about you build that little bubble of context for them.
Yeah, and some of those will be, as you say, from fic, they'll already be in the show. So every fic that mentions Cara Danvers will at some point inevitably stumble into the fact that she likes pot stickers. It's a very fandom thing to be like, it's mentioned once in the show, hey, character A eats bread, and in every single fanfic it will come up. So she loves bread, and she bought some bread, and then she ate some bread, and like if she has food at all in the story, it's gonna be bread.
Yeah,
and that's fine. It's part of the fun. It's like a little code between all of us saying, "Hey, you saw episode 2, didn't you?" And it's like, you know, it's part of the fun. But
exactly, and in Swan Queen, it's apple turnovers or apples all together, and and lasagna, obviously. And every time Regina cooks something, it's lasagna, which you know.
It's funny because that actually, you can tell that the same fans transferred from Swan Queen to Super Cat because so many of the fics have Cat making lasagna.
That's cute.
That woman has never made a lasagna in her life, but okay.
Yeah. So obviously, you have things that are canon, things that are head canon, and things that are pretty much partaking to your characterizations. Then in your story in general, you need to have an idea if you're using tropes. And a lot of people who will give you prompt on Tumblr, on Twitter, they will tell you a trope that they want. So for example, they hate each other, they meet, they hate each other, but they end up falling in love. That's a trope, right?
They have to stay overnight somewhere, and there's only one bed.
There's only one bed. That's a trope.
That's and people will like literally stop, cheer, and run around the room before they start the rest of the story because they're so excited that trope is happening. That has happened to me personally.
Or one character is old and one character is young. Or so you have tropes like that.
You have age gaps. Ice Queens is a big one with Femme Slash.
Yes.
Melting the Ice Queen. You have the high school AU, the college AU,
the coffee shop AU, the Harry Potter AU. You have
if they went to Hogwarts. Yeah, that's all.
Right. You have the the major, the ERAU. You have the
what if they were both doctors? What if they were both teachers?
You have the president AU with what's my favorite show that you write AU for that we both love that has Charlie Sheen in it. I never know the name of that show, but I love that show. It's in the White House. It's
the West Wing. Sorry, with Martin.
Yeah, the West. So you have your West Wing AU, you have your Harry Potter AU.
I was like, Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, so it's the way I said it. Is it the way I said it?
Yeah, no, it was just the wrong Sheen that threw me for a second because I was thinking about Spin City, which was the mayor
Oh,
of New
okay.
York,
Right.
and Charlie Sheen
Yes.
was in that, and I was like,
Yeah.
I've never written fic for
So
that, but
yeah,
Lana was in
you
it.
have the
Aw.
West Wing. So you have your
Yeah.
West Wing AU, your Harry Potter AU, your coffee shop AU. You have your You've Got Mail AU, and
Yeah, that's a popular one. And there's just
that
like there's so many tropes
yeah.
within those that are just like individual scenes. Like,
You have your lumberjack AU.
oh my god, they were roommates. That's so popular.
Yes,
And what's the other one?
that's
Fake dating. That is my all-time.
yeah, fake dating or
I need a date to go
yes.
to my ex's wedding, or my parents are coming to town and I told them I have a girlfriend, but I don't.
You're in love with your
Um,
boss AU, and
yeah.
and we have a few tropes that you should never write for. So obviously, you have your student teacher AU. That's a kink.
Oh yeah, that used to be way more
guys.
popular.
Yes, that's a kink, and it's not an AU anymore. That's a kink. Why is it a kink? Because it's not healthy.
Yeah, well, basically, if anyone's a minor, then you've got to be careful. I'm not saying don't write it because at the end of the day, you can write whatever you want.
There's a kink
but
for
you
it.
have to tag it properly. You have
Yes.
to
Also,
flag it as what it is.
If you're gonna go with that, go with college professor and
Make everyone over the
20-year-old.
age of consent.
Yeah, please make everyone over 18.
Yeah,
because
and ideally don't have them have the power to throw that.
Then it's not
out.
a kink anymore. It's disgusting, is what it is. Okay, the difference. You see, under 18, no, that's bad.
It's difficult because obviously,
under 18 is how to ruin yourself forever in fandom. Okay.
It is. Obviously, there's some slight debate around it because a lot of countries don't have 18 as the age of consent.
Yes.
The UK is one of them, but there is an exception where, obviously, if the adult has a position of authority relating to the other person,
yes,
then they have to be over 18. So
exactly.
It's not actually a grey area. I don't want to sound like super judgy because like a lot of the people writing those AUs are actually maybe under 18 themselves. I wouldn't be reading that if I knew that. But, a lot of that is
don't do it.
Wish fulfillment or, you do tend to find a lot of high school and college AUs are written by people of that age just because they don't have life experience of other things. So they bring the characters into a world that they understand. And I get that.
They're writing kids for themselves.
Yeah, and you tend to find that they're also not explicit fics. They tend to be
exactly because they have about zero experience, and so they're just wondering if maybe they like girls because they like that TV show where like Atypical, right? There's a lot of fic
there.
There's a lot of fic in certain fandoms like Atypical, where the two kids in high school
before that as well. Yeah,
right. So when you're going to see two kids in high school, kind of fall in love or having boyfriends and girlfriends and having their first time, right? Most of the time, those are written by children. If you're an adult and you want to write this, go away. I don't want to know you. You can.
Well, I mean, I guess that's difficult because then, like, what about adults who write YA? Like, they're writing about teenagers.
Where there's a difference. There's a difference.
I mean,
it's how right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get I'm saying don't write minors having sex. That's a good rule of thumb. But obviously, the reality of life is, and as someone who certainly didn't wait until she was 18, the reality is that people around that age do have an interest in the topic, and they do, they do what they do. So it's a bit
write with children in mind. I want to say, write with children in mind. Don't write fic under 18 for adults.
Right? Yeah, no, that's fair. Like, don't confuse the two. Like, if you're writing a G-rated fic for people who of any age to read, by all means. But if you're writing explicit content, then you should ideally. You really have to keep everything above board. Yeah. But again, if you don't, for whatever reason, however you justify it to yourself, it's totally your business. But AO3 gives you no excuse not to tag it.
Yeah, there's
so if anyone
tons
is underage,
and tons of
it
tags.
has to be tagged.
Yes.
If
and
it's
seriously,
if you're going, you have to put that in.
Yeah, if you're going that way, please get a beta reader that's going to help you at least tag this properly and.
Not tagging stuff properly and kind of forcing it on people is not cool.
Exactly. Go with someone who's going to tell you, okay, I think this appropriate or this is inappropriate. Like, go with someone who you know is gonna give you like it is, because
Yeah.
it's. I mean, you have to be delicate, and if it's your first story, stay away from that for your first story.
Yeah,
It's
make sure you know more what you're doing with an audience first, I would
yes,
say.
absolutely.
But
So
yeah, I mean, it
tropes,
comes up in some things, like,
it does.
if you have a character who has kids who are teens, which has happened in both Swan Queen and Supercat,
Right.
then you tend to run into situations where, like, oh, they're dating someone, or they're having,
Yeah.
feelings for someone, and you kind of have to write around that. So, like, it can come up organically. It's not always a weird thing,
Right.
but just be careful behind it.
Absolutely. And obviously, it's possible to write young adult stories where you have young
Yeah,
adults, you know, having sex or, getting into the knowledge of, okay. But yeah,
yeah,
graphic sex at that point is maybe not the best. And if,
yeah,
and if you are writing for young adult books, have young adult reader in mind.
yeah. Know your audience is always the best
Yes,
place to start from. So,
absolutely.
and be appropriate
Okay.
to that audience.
So once you have identified if your story starts from a trope or if there are tropes and such into your story, it's also good to in your head have at least, and probably on paper, but in your head have a good idea of what the major conflict of your story is going to be, because that's pretty
Well,
much going to
yeah,
be the focus point that you're going to bloom from,
this is something
right?
that has evolved for me in the last 2 years.
Okay,
Um, the fundamental thing, and they go really heavy on this in TV and in film, but the
good.
fundamental thing, if you want to write a satisfying dramatic story,
Hmm.
the character or characters that you're principally writing about have to have a goal. There has to be something they want or need. Now, whether that is something epic, like they want to be the queen of an entire country, or
Right.
they want to
World
be left alone.
domination or
Yeah, they want to be left alone for 4 hours so they can take a freaking nap. Both of those are
right.
equally valid goals.
Yeah,
You can also have equally epic stories in which they have many obstacles and things preventing them
exactly.
from reaching that goal. You
Then you
can
can
have a
have a
certain
quest
chapter.
format. You can have,
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of format that you can have for your conflict. But if
but
you have an
ultimately,
idea
yeah,
of what you're trying to resolve in this book,
as long as
it
your character
helps.
never lose sight of their goal, they might feel that they're never going to
Exactly.
achieve their goal, or they might feel that they're just about to achieve their goal. And that's, we get into that maybe another time if we talk about 5 act structure and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
um, technically speaking, the minute your character stops wanting or needing the thing that is their whole reason for being in this story, then your audience is kind of going to lose interest along with you. So it's totally
exactly.
okay if there's a distraction or an obstacle. In fact, there should be obstacles. The more, the better.
Plot
That's what
twists.
makes it satisfying. Yeah, not even a twist, but just something that prevents them. Like, I want to cross the street. Oh, there's a car between me and the other side of the street. Like, what am I
Right.
going to do? You have to make a choice at that point. Am I going to jump over the car? Am I going to wait? Am I going to throw
Yeah.
something at the
Okay.
driver?
So yes,
Like,
you can have choices. You can have hindrances. You can
yes,
have
yeah.
things that facilitate your character getting to their goal or complicates it, or you can
And
have
sometimes those things are the people that they're dealing with as well. They don't always have to be like
exactly.
physical
You
barriers.
have
It can be,
characters that come into the other characters that
yes,
come into the equation.
someone lies to them, someone tells them something that
Yes.
makes them think they shouldn't want the thing they want anymore, or
Right.
that it's no longer available to them, but it actually
Exactly.
is.
Like
And
classic example, you have a woman who wants to get married, and the whole story is they want to get married to another woman whom they've been with for like 6 months, and everybody thinks it's too early, whatever. And there's another character coming in, their best friend, and the best friend is like talking them out of getting married.
yeah, and
That's
telling them that it's all going to go horribly wrong. That's
right.
like, that's conflict, that's
And
drama.
it's amazing to put into your book. If that's what you've imagined in your story, that's great.
Mm,
Put it into your story. But your idea is, are they going to get married or not?
yeah.
And don't lose sight of that, because
And yeah, as soon as they start not caring about that, then you stop caring and your reader stops caring, and
you've messed
it's
up your
hard to
story.
sustain over a long story. It is.
Exactly.
And sometimes the
You
simple
can
thing
have
we want is
arcs.
we want to be with someone.
Exactly. You can have different arcs, right? And you can even in the future, like when you start having experience, you can even change your conflict and evolve your audience with you to that new conflict. But in the beginning, keep it a little more simple for yourself, like at least for yourself to, get more to hone your craft on a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to have.
It can be a simple thing, like if you're writing a fic, for example. The simple thing that can be is this, character 1, Cara, wants to go on a date with Kat. What's the obstacle to that happening? Cara has to ask Kat on a date. So she has to make a decision then. How do I ask her on a date? Oh my God, I asked her out, but
and
she didn't realize I was asking her out. Yeah.
Right.
And then she tries again. And, she tries again.
So your
and
whole book, she can try. Yeah. You can never get to the date for the whole story.
Yeah, and then when you finally do, the relief and the happiness and the, oh my God, I thought they weren't going to get there, really pays off, and then you have this big emotional reaction to it because
exactly, it's
you. Yeah,
you resolve it. You resolve your conflict, meaning you give a satisfaction, and whether it's a story that lasts a minute and a half on YouTube, or it's a story that lasts 600 pages on a book, or it's an episode that lasts 20 minutes, you will always see something, even if it's in separate parts. There's always, and we're coming to transitions, but you're always resolving either part of your conflict, your whole conflict, or all the other secondary conflict that you've created with your main conflict. But you need to give resolve. So a story start with, it hooks you, then it takes you on a ride, and then it gives you a resolve from that ride.
One way or the other. They either get what they want or they don't. But one way, or by the end of the story, did they get it? And one thing that I find for, when you feel a bit like, God, why am I writing this? It's not going anywhere. This isn't what I set out to do. The biggest tip I've learned from writing for TV is every single scene has to do something. Everyone has to start the scene in one state and end it in another. And that's true. You can swap out scene for chapter. You can sort out arc for, any term that you want to use in there. They have to start it as one particular way. And by the end of it, something has to have changed.
Yeah.
So whether that's that they're happier or sadder, or that they feel successful or they failed.
That's up to you, and have fun with that. Have fun with that. Don't hurt characters for free. Again, it's the same thing as, don't write sex for free. Don't, especially if you're writing marginalized characters. Again, remember, your audience has been discriminated upon, has been intruded upon, has been hurt, has been misrepresented, and badly treated in media. So remember, don't hurt characters uselessly, especially if you have women who already have a past, because every woman has a past, and of having been hurt before. So don't do it for free. But aside from that, yes, have fun. All those moments in between where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do here. If you always have your eye set on your conflict, on your goal, on your idea of why you're here writing this, then you can have fun in the middle. I want to say
it keeps
do it in 3 parts, all of that kind of stuff, but really outside of the technicality, you can have fun with all of it.
I don't work in 3s anymore. I work in 5s, but
you work in 5s, work in 3s, work in 5s.
Everyone finds their own technical thing to hang it on, but the point is the same.
Right.
Start here, get to the end.
Yes.
How do you do in the middle? Well, it doesn't matter how you do it in the middle, as long as the whole time you hold on to, but they really want to do this. They really want to achieve this. So, and that's what carries the story and carries them.
Yes. To model that, to scale that to your one chapter, because we were talking about the whole story, right? So each of your chapters need to have that. It needs to have.
It has to serve.
It needs to serve a purpose. Right. Yeah. It needs to serve the purpose of the story. Something hooks you in the beginning. something happens within your scene, your chapter, and at the end, something either gets resolved or something happens to take you to the next chapter, right? Yeah. So the first thing we're going to give you is the length of the chapter, and I think we've already said that before. The length of the chapter is about a good length that we like for your average fiction. It's about what, 2.5, 3,000 words? That's a good chapter.
I mean, that's my average, but it really does vary depending on the story.
Right. Yeah. You can be if your story's shorter, make shorter chapters. If you feel like it's your first story and you're not very comfortable and you don't know what's a chapter and what's not a chapter, try to identify where it starts and where it ends.
What I would say, though, is more important. Yeah. There is no empirical figure that is exactly right for every story. But what I would say is probably best is when you find a chapter that you've written and it feels like good. You think, oh, that was, started here, ended there.
Yeah.
Whatever length that is, whether it's 1.5K or 2,000 words, try and keep it consistent, because that's probably the rhythm of your story kind of telling itself to you.
Exactly.
So like, if I'm writing a rom-com,
that's probably the size of your momentum.
Yeah,
as well.
And that's probably how you feel
comfortable.
That's what your storytelling distance kind of works out to be. So some people tell stories very quickly and efficiently, and some people tell them at great depth and detail. So if you're writing an epic fantasy novel, a 4,000 word chapter wouldn't be crazy.
No,
but
it's actually a short chapter.
Rom-com, you might only write like 1,000, 1,200 words in a chapter, and you might have more of them. So,
and it'll work, and you have a lot of dialogue, and you have a lot of little action. If you're making coffee, it's hard to make coffee for 80,000 words, but it's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, but
yes. I mean, there's people out there who could write an epic story about
making coffee.
They could get 80,000 words.
I've been a barista for years. I could.
But I don't think about my coffee that deeply, but other people could.
So a lot of things. Look at Friends, the show. I hate the show, but look at Friends. It's it's short. It's funny.
I'm watching it at the moment, actually.
It's the way it's made is great television, but the story, the characters are shit, and the story is shit for me. But the television technicality of it, I like it.
Yeah, I find it's so problematic, more interesting as an adult.
Yes.
It's very much a product of its time. I've been watching it. My wife never watched it when it was first on. And so I've been rewatching it with her. We're up to about season 9 now. And we just put it on for like TV time when we're having dinner, because it's like backgroundy.
Mm-hmm.
And it is interesting, like how much that show was defined by its media coverage, because everyone's like, everyone's crazy about so Ross and Rachel. But if you watch the show, Ross and like Rachel and Joey is actually probably a more interesting relationship.
It is. I know.
And it doesn't have all the baggage, but so it just goes to show that a lot of the time your story can be shaped by what you tell people about the story, right? and not. And it can be
the rhythm of, you'll find your rhythm, right? So don't like fixate on a number of words. Just try to allow your process to take you where you're comfortable and see how much that is. And once you have that, try to keep it that way.
So, and get into a habit of leaving yourself with, not exactly a question, but something that you still need to resolve, because that's what gives you the next chapter.
Exactly.
And the momentum to come. If you have to go away at that point and not touch it for 5 days or a week, and then you come back, the worst feeling in the world is, I can't remember where I left this.
Oh,
and you look at it and you go, what was I going to write next? And it's just gone. It's just blank.
Yeah,
it's
not
just
happening. Gone. So
if you leave an obvious thing, like someone is injured, so the obvious question is, well, what happened?
Well, what happened next? Stabbed, right. So leave yourself a clue. And if you can, which I would, try and leave yourself some notes or plot the next chapter. Because it's not going to stop you from doing spontaneous things in there, but it's going to give you, it's going to take you back. So you're going to that's what I was thinking. And then it's going to give you a little bit of help. It's just going to give you like a support.
Starting from scratch all over
exactly.
Again,
Because that can be very intimidating. You can be like, okay, great. I thought of I had an idea for a story. I wrote the scene where I started, and now what? And
Yeah.
that can be harder than just not starting the story, because it can feel like you have to start the whole thing all over again. That's what that like you're back at square one, which you're not. But help yourself out. Live yourself a note, and
Yeah, be kind to your future self.
especially if you start several stories, because that will get confusing really quick. So leave
I
yourself
would never
notes.
do that.
Plot your next scene. If you know if when you finish that story, you're like, oh, I wrote a lot today, I'm a little tired, and this feels good for a chapter, I think I'm going to end there. Then just before you end, you know what you were going to do next, because you can see it in your head. Just write that down. Just jolts a few notes, write it down so that you can jumpstart yourself next time you write, and you're not all shit out of luck. You're like, oh no, what was I going to, oh my God, oh, what have I done? And then you don't write for 6 months because you're panicking. So don't do that.
Feel like you've lost the thread.
Just gives you a little pick me up. Just give you a little jump starter. Like, it's like warming up your car in the winter. Same thing.
Something like that.
So wow, we've gone long, Lola. We still have stuff to talk to you about, but I think that we're definitely going to keep that for next time, because we have settings and continuity and how to keep your writing and all of that to talk about. So
I have to give yourself a shot in the arm when you hate the story.
Yeah. This was shorter when we did the talking points today. All right, so
we got carried away.
Yeah, we're going to just do the how to keep your writing and how do you always feel inspired. That's what we're going to leave you with. Okay. So how do you keep writing? Aside from the notes for your future self, which those are helpful. Read books.
Yeah. The biggest thing is refresh, because it is so. I mean, I've had a year where I just feel like I have just been putting stuff out and out and out into the universe. Like, I've been writing scripts, I've written 2 books, I've done like 3 short stories, and like just my general like work on top of that has been like everything is coming out of me and onto a page somewhere. And that is great. It's a fab feeling, and I'm so lucky to be able to do it. But you end up with like reserves of nothing. There was a point where I realized, I think in December, I hadn't read a book for fun in like 3 months, which is probably the longest I've gone in my life without reading a book. And so now, even if I'm busy, even if I have deadlines, watch something you enjoy, read something that someone has recommended to you, or that's been on your to be read pile for a while and you really want to read it. Just top yourself up on other people being great. You know,
listen to a new album and pay attention to the lyrics. And read fan fiction by all means.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do that. I'll go back and read stuff for comfort and because it puts me back in my happy place, and then I feel like writing again. But you've got to be inspired.
And you're like, oh my God, it's so bad. It's okay. You know what? There's always something to take from that. Even if it's bad, at least you get to see the things that you shouldn't be doing. Or if you're like, oh my God, I do that all the time. Oh dear. Just, you've learned something.
Or
it's
it makes
positive.
You think, oh, well, actually, if I was doing this story, I would do this, and it turns into its own whole thing. And you have a new project and you're kickstarted, But it's also okay. There's so much, especially just now with this lockdown. Everyone's like, oh my God, you must be productive, like 500 hours a day, and write every day, and if you haven't written 500 words before 8 a.m., you failed. That is nonsense. And
that's nonsense. Absolutely.
So many professional writers, and it is absolutely what works for you. I like to write at night. I cannot write in the morning. My wife gets up and does morning pages. She's very disciplined, and she'll write like 1,000 words before lunch.
I love to write in the morning,
but I can't do it.
I can't get up in the morning,
active, but my creative brain is not up in the morning. So I can get up and tidy the house, or I can get up and like do maths, but I can't get up and write. My brain is not there. It doesn't want to do it. But when it gets to like 11 o'clock at night, I'm like, oh, okay, what
now is the time.
And then I've got 3 hours in me. I'm good to go. But it's just a case of
replenish yourself.
For you.
Yes, replenish yourself. rest,
Have
and
time where you don't have to do it.
exactly. And don't
force
forget
yourself.
to enjoy, like, have fun and
Yeah,
enjoy.
it's
And
fun.
because a lot of creators will tell you, well, you know, if you're going to watch this movie, or if you're going to read this book, or if you're going to listen to this, just like put your creative brain on, pay attention to, you know, how they do it, how they tell the story, the process. I mean, sure, do, by all means do that. It will teach you a lot of things, but if you do that 24/7, you're not even going to pay attention to the fun part of this. You're not going to enjoy your content. You're not going to enjoy what you consume. Like,
Yeah,
if
and
you're
it shouldn't
watching,
be a chore. You shouldn't be pushing rocks
no,
up hills. It's not.
right. So
There's
there's a
times where it
balance.
gets tough,
Yeah, there's a balance
but
to
enjoy the fun
find.
part.
Enjoy the fun
Yeah.
part, consume content. Don't over consume. Like, you know, sometimes
Yeah, you
put
need to
your
be
all in
careful
it
not to use it as an excuse. Yeah.
to not create. So
Yeah.
you got to find your balance. But honestly, if you overconsume in the beginning, that's fair. I overconsume all the time because it helps. That's how I get confidence. I have
Yeah.
anxiety issues. I'm not a very confident person. I overconsume because after a while I'm like it starts giving me ideas. It starts telling I start hyping myself up. I start feeling like, yeah, I can do it. I can wait. Oh, my introduction thing should be like that, but not like them, like not like them, but you know, it
yeah,
gives
but
me
it gives
ideas,
you
right? And so that works for me. But yeah, like I said, like Lola said, we read, watch TV, watch movies, do it with your writing, creating glasses on. Sometimes just do it for the fun, and yeah, don't force yourself. If you feel the feeling, oh, I wish I could write today, just go for it. Then do it.
And also, don't underestimate. I mean, I know a lot of writers are introverts. I'm not one, so I find it a little difficult sometimes. But don't
I'm pretty much
underestimate the
more
value
introvert than you are.
of being in the world. Now, I'm not saying go out and talk to people. I know that horrifies some of you, and obviously, it's not an option until at least the summer at this point. But there is so much, especially a lot of comedic writers that I've spoken to. There is so much life and comedy and drama just happening around you all the time, and you don't need to know the details or the specifics. But you can sit in Starbucks and hear a 5-minute conversation between two people, and you're like, "Oh my god, I could write a book about that. What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
And of course, you don't just lift that and take it. But then the next time when you're stuck for ideas, you're like, "What about that woman in Starbucks who was arguing about whether or not she can give her child heroin?" And then it's like, okay, yeah, that actually works for these purposes.
I'm an introvert and I like to people watch. It's for me.
You can get the facts without being.
And I have just I have just a tiny amount of patience for that every day. It's not like I have one spoon for it. So you know, I'm gonna
recharge that.
Exactly. So I'll have you know, I'll be in the ferry or whatever, or you know, just at the coffee shop or anything, and I'll pay attention, or I'll just completely isolate with my music and I don't want to talk or see anyone. That happens too. But I feel like I'm more introverted and I'm shy more than Lola will ever be. You need a little bit of all of that, and isolation is not healthy in any form. Like too much isolation is not healthy anyway.
It's also very hard to remember what people are really like if it's just you on your own for too long, because
exactly. And if you spend a lot of time
on a bit fake,
if you spend a lot of time on social media and you feel like everything you like or you do or you watch or you listen to or you pay attention to is described as problematic by someone, and eventually you create that guilt cycle that you just can't enjoy the thing anymore because you're like, am I allowed to like this? This is bad. Like everything is problematic if you look at it from a certain angle. I'm not excusing things for being problematic, but I'm saying it's okay if you like problematic things, as long as you're aware of why they're problematic, and you don't let
just put other things people in a context,
right? You don't let other people decide for you what's wrong about this.
Yeah.
Right? If you know what's wrong about it, and you can keep a handle on what you're told, and then again, put your privilege in check again, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh my god, they're right. I didn't see that before. But that also, like, doesn't, it's okay to see something as problematic and at the same time have an emotional attachment to it because you watch it when you were a kid or because you really like the characters. Or
and at the end of the day, just because something is wrong in one way doesn't mean it has no value.
Exactly.
For example, The Sopranos is a fantastic piece of television. Is it
incredible.
great about women? No, it could be better. Is it great about gay stuff or race or whatever? But it's also reflecting a particular culture, so it's like, okay. But as long as you take that context and you say, well, I think this character is really interesting, but I wouldn't like react the way he does to gay people, or whatever it is that's wrong with them. Then I think it's okay to still enjoy that media. But there is a sort of culture sometimes of like, oh, you got one thing wrong in one episode, therefore the entire show must be deleted. And I think that nobody learns anything from that.
Exactly. So yeah, I think we're gonna let you go with that wisdom. Enjoy it. Be aware of what you're writing. I think it's clear. Be aware of what you're doing. Help yourself and your future self. Try to keep, have a vision, right? And try to always keep an eye on your vision. And try not to have those, what are the things that horses have on their eyes?
Oh, blinkers?
Yes.
Yeah, that stops you seeing the whole picture. Yeah.
That makes them blind when they're in races, which is horrible.
Yeah, blinkers.
Blinkers, right. Yeah. Don't have that on. Like, try, if you realize you have it on, take it off.
Yeah.
And go back.
Just look around a little bit. And
exactly.
Both sides.
Blinders, Rachel. Thank you. Blinders. So Rachel
are they called blinders?
Said, those are blinders. Blinkers are for the car, right? The signal.
Neither of them sound right now.
Well, now I'm okay. Well, I'm the French one, so you guys decide which. You guys decide. I think it's blinder.
Blinkers, sometimes known as blinders, are a piece of horse.
There you go.
So I probably
blinders is probably the American word, and blinkers is the UK
blinkers
English
sounds
word.
like something I got from Enid Blyton. So yeah, that's on me.
Okay.
And I also live with a horse girl, so
There you go. Thank you for teaching me a word today.
Yeah.
So yes,
in fact,
don't put those on when you're consuming your content, but have fun. And if you realize you had, you saw something that you never realized before, be open-minded, have fun, and help yourself and your future self. Leave yourself notes and keep an eye on the vision. And I think for now, don't be ashamed of writing smut. Don't be ashamed of writing representation for the audience that you're writing for, and even for the rest of the world.
Let yourself and your characters be happy. That's a big thing.
Exactly. And we'll go a little bit more technical and certain things, especially continuity and transitions and settings and technicalities. We'll give you more next week.
Sounds good.
All right. So everyone, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you really, really, really want to support my channel, the best way to do that is to go watch the playlists that I have. So you can watch the previous episodes if you haven't. And you can definitely start looking into my comic school lives, which are pretty fun. And you can see me create on the spot, which I've been doing twice now, and it's kind of exciting. I get excited. So yeah, you'll see me world build, and you see me create characters and stories, and on the spot I created a springboard, 3 actually. So so yes, you'll be and I created the first page of my comic, which I'll do the rest on Friday, but yeah, it was pretty cool. So yes, if you really want to support the channel, go watch some playlists. Also, if you want to support Lola, go buy her book. The link is in the description. It's called A Roll in the Hay.
Yes, and it's also coming out in German next year. So if by any small reason you're waiting to read it in German, it will be out next year. Early next year in German.
It'll be on Amazon eventually, but right now, Ilva Publishing is the only place.
For the next 2 weeks,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and
I
it'll
think
probably be an audiobook in future.
Yeah, it's been recorded. I just don't know when it'll be out. It
There
just
you
kind of gets
go.
dropped, and it's like, okay,
So that's
it's
pretty
out now.
awesome. You'll
But I'll keep you
find
posted.
my links also if you want to read my fan fiction. You'll also find a link to my Google Docs folder that I called Sharing My Whips, which are my work in progress. And I like to share some of my stories or chapters, and actually full stories, where you can see how I plot, how I take notes and do that. I'm actually about to drop. I've kind of registered for the Swan Queen Supernova thing that's coming up. So I'm going to write book 2 of my epic book story that I wrote for Swan Queen for the first Big Bang in 2014 with Lola. And so that's getting book 2 written for it. And I have a good amount of notes. I've created a time system, a world, like cities and stuff, and nationalities and all those things. So anyway, I will put all my notes in there so that you guys can follow. But if it helps you, it's all free. I think there's nothing special to do. So yeah, you can find Lola's books, follow us on Twitter. That's where we're the most active.
Yeah, that's where we chatter most.
And you'll find us here again next Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. GMT, which is, I think, 2 p.m.
Eastern,
EST.
yeah. We're 5 hours apart again from the East Coast. So.
There you go. And so, you guys take care. Wash your hands, take your meds, stay home. And
stay indoors where you can watch live streams. Well.
Yeah.
And read books. That would be awesome.
Read books. If you did.
So, and comment on fics that you read.
Yeah, let us know if you want us to look at some fics, or if you want us to talk about some books that we, or if you have questions, even if you want us to look at your first chapters or something. I'm not saying we'll be a beta reader for everyone on the stream, but I'm
also a terrible editor, so I'm just putting that out there. I'm not great. So.
But yeah, if you want us to just, look at something and say, and be encouraging and try to give you like a few guidance point, or if you have questions, like technical questions or not technical questions, please go ahead, leave comments, or, find us on Twitter. We'll try to answer you, whether it's live or, directly in the comments or anything like that. So yeah, everybody take good care of yourselves. And much love. We'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.